of implementation, the percentage of children that were reaching the reading benchmark increased to 21.3%. By the time we were doing end-line evaluation, this increased to 43.7%. Out of these impressive results, the government of Kenya agreed with USAID on the need to expand this program to a national scale. And out of that, Tusome was born. And from 2014 August, Tusome started. But it was in January 2015 that the President of Kenya, Honorable Uhuru Kenyatta, launched the program that is understood to be a national government program. And if you can see that slide, we are having the US ambassador to Kenya, we are having the President of Kenya, we are having the leaders, the top leaders from DFID and government of Kenya, including the Minister for Education, declaring Tusome as a national program that is going to be implemented in Kenya onwards. Currently, Tusome is on its third year of implementation as a national reading program for the country. And it has grown over a period of time. You can see the slide is showing us that in 2015, we only had fewer people participating because of the way the implementation was designed to be rolled out. We have fewer national education leaders being trained, and basically this was informed by the fact that Tusome was to be rolled in grade 1 only in 2015. Then 2016, grade 2 came on board. So we were having grade 1 and grade 2. And then in 2017, we have grade 3 coming on board as well. So the numbers are increasing with time. One of the areas of focus that I would like us to look at is the role that is stated as books delivered to schools. So as we design books as one of the components with the Ministry of Education and the curriculum body in Kenya, we distribute them to schools, and the numbers continue increasing. As at now, we have already designed and distributed 19.1 million books to every child in class 1 and class 2, and also to children that have visual impairments and those that have hearing impairment in the lower primary school. So getting to this slide, inviting my colleague, Dr. Evelyn Jepkemei, to take us through, and then she'll hand over to Esther Kinyanjui of the Ministry of Education.
So, hi everyone. So I'm going to be talking about the specifics of coaching under the Tusome program. And so when we were doing the pilot, as Salome has said, we used resources that were already existing in government. And one of those resources were staff that were called Teacher Advisory Center Tutors at the time. They were called TAC tutors. And these people are people who used to run what we call teacher advisory centers that were established in 1963 at independence, with the responsibilities to take care of schools within a zone, and these zones were comprising of about 15 to 30 schools, as you can see in the slide. And their main responsibilities were to assess the needs and train teachers within their zones. And the TAC centers, the teacher advisory centers, were actually a physical place where teachers would go and meet and discuss issues regarding pedagogy. The TAC tutors were to provide professional guidance to teachers and also collect a variety of resources for teachers' reference, as well as assess learning outcomes at the zonal level. And this tag tutors were mostly primary school teachers who are promoted for exemplary service. So a good teacher who did an exemplary service in class would very easily get promoted to be able to man the tag center. Over time, those tag tutors have changed. We now call them curriculum support officers, and I will explain in a little bit why that is the case. But under Tusome, so we do have the tag tutors, or the curriculum support officers as they now are called, supporting all the public schools where Tusome is implemented. But we also have a segment of low-cost private schools that are under Tusome, and we have project-hired coaches for that. So if you look at this slide, I'm comparing the coaches and the CSOs. So the coaches are hired by the project through a partner organization that we're working with. These people give full-time support to low-cost private schools, so that's all that they do, to give support on Tusome to these low-cost private schools, mostly in slum areas across 4 cities. They are, as I said, they are full-time coaches, and they have experience in coaching. So the basis for hiring them is because they already have some experience in coaching. But the CSOs are serving all the public schools that we do have, and they have their responsibilities redefined. So when they change from being tax center tutors, they are now curriculum support officers, and the Teacher Service Commission with the employer has redefined their responsibilities. However, we still find that they do handle administration, and they handle other supervisory duties as well, apart from the work that they do in Tusome to support coaching. Many of the CSOs had no prior experience in coaching, and therefore part of the work that we have done in Tusome is to build their capacity in the area of coaching. So the CSOs and the coaches visit schools on a daily basis. That's the standard. Obviously, sometimes because of the responsibilities that they have, they might not be able to go there every day. But the ideal situation is to have them visit schools every day. And the focus is on instructional approaches. So unlike in the past where they would be going to assess, when they visit schools, the ideal situation is for them to focus on instructional approaches. So they observe a 30-minute lesson, and I will show you in a little bit how we determine that they have actually done that. They also carry out random assessments to check on pupil fluency, and so we ask them to pick 3 pupils for assessment using the tangerine. I will talk about that in a bit. And then they have a 10 to 15-minute debrief with the teachers to let the teachers know what went well during their lesson, and also let the teacher know what it is that they can be able to improve. And if you look at the screen, I have a quote from one of the CSOs that we have in Mombasa. She says, "The use of tablets is a very powerful way of supporting teachers. If I miss something during observation, the tablet generates very useful feedback." So those are some of the applications that that we do have the CSOs use. And when we look at after the CSOs have supported the teachers, they actually upload the data to show that I have been able to observe this lesson, and this is the kind of feedback that I've given. And we have seen up to 18,000 visits per month across the country. And so the CSOs and the coaches do have tablets that they use to support the teachers, and these tablets have a number of applications. The first one is the Tangerine, which is basically the tool in which they enter the information as they follow the lesson. So that application has a questionnaire or a form where they keep filling as they observe the lesson. so that at the end of the lesson they are able to actually see what went well in the lesson and perhaps where the teacher needs to improve. If you look at the left-hand side of the screen, you can see that we have feedback based on what the CSO has done in class, based on the information that they have entered in the tutor or in the Tangerine. The application is able to generate what went well and what the teacher needs to do. And you can see there is something on sound recognition, there is something on vocabulary. So even a CSO who does not feel very confident in some of the aspects of what the teacher does, the Tangerine is able to help them generate some feedback that can help them to have a conversation with the teachers in terms of support. The other thing that we have is all the books that we use in Tusome, the teacher's guide and the pupil's book, and some of the readers are already loaded in the tablet, and so the CSOs don't have to carry the books physically. And we also have, because one of the critical things that we look at is the phonics, the sounding of letters. We have an application called the Papaya that helps the CSOs and the teachers to be able to know how certain letter sounds are pronounced correctly. So for example, if a CSO goes to class and finds that the teacher is struggling with a certain sounding out a certain letter, they can actually refer to the Papaya and play the sound, and the teacher can then be able to practice. And then we have videos. So we do have segments of lessons, the various segments during the lesson. So if a teacher is struggling in a segment, the CSO during feedback is able to play back the videos to show how the teacher should be able to do that in future. When the CSOs visit schools, they actually do upload the data. So what you can see is a screenshot, and I'll take you in a little while to the actual site, is that this is what we have for the month of March. And as you can see, we have 19,093 observations across the country. That is what the CSOs, the lessons that the CSOs have uploaded, those are the lessons that we regard as valid, because invalid means it doesn't meet the thresholds that we have set. For example, if it's 15 minutes, then that would not be valid. If it's happening at 6 o'clock in the evening, when the children have gone home, then obviously you get to know that that's not a real observation. So we do have certain parameters that we use to decide what are valid observations. So in the month of March, we had that number of observations that were valid. And now I want to take you very quickly to the site so that we can be able to see a little bit more details of what happens during observation and what the CSOs have been able to upload. So as you can see right there, we do have the 19,000, oh, actually it's just increased. I think perhaps there is a few more CSOs who have uploaded their observations. So we now have 19,095, which constitutes 77% of all the observations that we expect in the month of March. And what you have down there is the aggregation of the observations by county. So you can see Baringo County, for example, had 233 observations in the month of March, and that constitutes 34%. So we have these aggregations, and it's possible for the Teacher Service Commission and the Ministry of Education to be able to access this dashboard and be able to see what is happening on a monthly basis. The other thing that we do is, I mentioned earlier that the CSOs do assess 3 children for fluency, and what you can see there is the English class 1 correct words per minute, and you in the second column you can see class 2, and the same thing for class 3 and Kiswahili as well. So yeah, if you look at, for example, what we have in all the counties, we have 77% of observations, and in class 1, the average correct words per minute that we have is 13 words per minute. So in average, we can say that in class 1 in Kenya, we have children who are able to read on average 13 words per minute across the country. So that's like the national average at this point in time. But the children who are actually able to read at benchmark in class 1, which is 30 words per minute, is 19%. Okay, and the same thing for class 2. So the average fluency rate for class 2 is 33 correct words per minute, and the children who are able to read at 65 words per minute is 26% across the country. For class 3, we don't have the assessment yet because we just started going into class 3, but you can see for class 2, for Kiswahili, we have 12 words per minute as the national average for class 1 and 22 for class 2. And in class 1, 52% of the children are able to read at the benchmark of 17 correct words per minute, and 22% in class 2 being able to read at 45 words per minute. And that goes on across the board. So you can see the aggregation that has been done for all the counties across the country, including what we are calling the ABET. These are the low-cost private schools that we're talking about. I want to move very quickly to just look at briefly what is happening in the zone. So I'll take an example of Baringo County. So this Baringo County has this number of zones, and you can see that although in Baringo County we had a total of 233 observations, there are zones that have not uploaded, either have not uploaded their data or have not done any observation, and this is feedback that will help the ministry and the Teacher Service Commission as well as Tusome to be able to go back and say what the challenges are and how those challenges can be overcome. So while the tablet is being used as a support tool, it is also used as an accountability tool because you can be able to see what is happening across the zones and across the country. And the last part I want to show is how do we then know that the CSOs who are uploading the data are actually doing it from the schools that they claim to be doing the same. So we do have a GPS, the tablets are GPS enabled, and they are able to tell us where these observations have been happening. So for example, you can be able to see that in Baringo, we have the CSO called Jacob Rotich, who observed a lesson, and in that lesson, the teacher was teaching lesson at week 8, day 1, and this was class 2 English, and you can be able to see the zone, radar, and the school name, and the date and the time of observation. Okay. And you can be able to see also that at the same time, the same CSO was able to observe a different lesson. This is English class 1. It's the same school, so you can see from the map that the CSO was actually within the school, and so this happens to be a very good accountability tool for us. Okay. So this is basically what we do in Tusome. We have the support for the CSO, but we also have the support for the Ministry of Education and for the Teacher Service Commission to be able to see what is happening in schools. All right, so I will now ask Esther Kinyanjui to take us through the remaining part of the presentation. Thank you very much.
So good afternoon, everyone. I will take us through the coaching management structure, and this is from the ministry level. And to begin, we have the National Steering Committee. This committee is chaired by the highest office in the ministry, and this is by the Cabinet Secretary or also known as the Minister for Education. The participants are several stakeholders or the key stakeholders in the education sector. Among them, we have Teacher Service Commission, we have semi-autonomous government agencies, we have union members, parents represented by the National Parents Association, among many others. One focus that the National Steering Committee undertakes is monitoring the progress of the program, and this is especially so by following what just been taken through by Evelyn on the dashboard, and equally ensures that challenges are addressed, since the program also faces some challenges here and there. And when we get this support from the highest office, it makes it even work better. Then we have the other structure, the National Technical Committee. This structure is chaired by the Principal Secretary. We have participants from various technical specialist areas. And the structure is equally very important. For it ensures that the management of the program is well coordinated and as well implemented. Then we have the third structure, which goes down to the county. This is the County Technical Committee. Our country is divided into counties, and education is also one of the major areas that are well taken care of at the county. This technical committee at the county level is chaired by the County Director of Education, with an alternate chair from Teacher Service Commission. So we have another director who also takes charge in this technical committee. And the participants are derived from a number of county key stakeholders, and they manage, or they're able to coordinate the implementation of the program at the county level, taking care of issues or challenges that may also arise, and they're able to actually meet or come up with solutions from local avenues, or taking care of how they can be able to come up with the solutions which are home-based, and they can be able to move on with the program without having issues which have to be taken to the National Technical Committee or the National Steering Committee. So they're able to share, and they're able to see the progress of the program. I'll also go through the slide on value that is added by the coaching approach. And one key element is to note that Kenya as a country has been using the existing personnel for coaching, like we have shared previously on the curriculum support officers. This is personnel that has been there since time immemorial, like Evelyn had shared since 1963. And by using this existing personnel, it has made it has made the program actually move smoothly without many challenges, because it is localized, or the personnel actually understand well what happens on the ground and can be able to take through the program with minimal challenges. Then the use of a medium scale pilot to test coaching model, like you are taken through by Salome on the pilot study on primer. This pilot made it very clear, or it indicated very clear, that the use of this coaching model worked for the program as well, and that is why it was upscaled to ensure that it is it's on a continuum aspect. Then the other value added is by the use of the tablet-based instructional support system, and this has worked very well. That is why we're able to see the results that you have seen in the dashboard. And through the use of the tablet, we realized that there is a lot that is generated by use of the IT or the information technology. So the teachers are supported well by the curriculum support officers by ensuring that the use of IT also produces good results for the teachers, and as well in areas that they have challenges, they can make use of the papaya for the use of the sound and many other aspects as well. Then we have realized improved learning outcomes, whereby the fluency rates of the learners have greatly improved, and at the same time we've been able to realize that many children are able to catch up with what the teacher is teaching. Many children now, or many of the pupils, are able to be in school with reduced absenteeism from the teachers, reduced absenteeism from the learners, and this has actually been the reason why we feel Tusome has worked very well. Then we also have the Global Partnership for Education, Global Partnership for Education, Primary Education Development, PRIDE. This is a numeracy program that is being implemented alongside Tusome, and the program, the PRIDE program, which is supported by Global Partnership for Education, it is aligned to Tusome program, and it is because Tusome has succeeded, Tusome has done so well, therefore the government has felt that there is need to align the two programs so that they can use the existing structures without any changes, and therefore this has worked very well since the program can also benchmark match with Tusome. We also have experienced challenges in the program implementation as far as coaching is concerned. And for example, we realized that most of the CSOs had limited exposure to mobile technologies. So on the onset of the coaching, the aspect of the coaching, most of these CSOs were not very comfortable with the use of the tablets or even smartphones, and this made the program, the coaching, a challenge. However, this is one of the challenges that we have now overcome. We have very minimal challenges now. Then we also have staffing challenges since we did not have enough CSOs, the curriculum support officers, and apart from that, we've also had a variation in take-up by the CSOs or the curriculum support officers, where some are very smart, they're very good, they have embraced the program and are running with it, while we still have a small number that is yet to catch up. So this variation, the picture that we get is that there are some areas that are much better than others, but however, we are able to make good follow-up. Then natural attrition through retirement, where we've seen some of the CSOs we started with in this coaching, the area of coaching, they have retired, and therefore they have to be replaced with others who have also been who have to be coached once again in a very fresh way. Then we also have challenges whereby the curriculum support officers have multiple administrative tasks. They have a lot apart from supporting the teachers, apart from supporting the implementation of the curriculum, because they have other administrative tasks which they also have to undertake before they provide the coaching. Then lastly, the national scale support disparities across zones. So from the dashboard, we're able to realize that there are some zones that are doing very well, while others still have to pull up to get to a level that they can be able to competitively move together with the rest of the zones. And that brings us to the end of our presentation. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Esther. Salome and Evelyn for your wonderful presentation, which was being followed by 71 participants, attendees globally. So I'm taking this opportunity to welcome Kazungu, our discussant, discuss what has been presented by the three.
Good evening and good morning, everyone.
Good evening.
Good evening.
My name is Titus Kazungu, and I want to just first of all congratulate Salome, Evelyn, and Esther for the very well thought out presentation. And I'll discuss a few points, beginning first of all by really looking at the presentation as it began with Salome, showing the impressive growth of initially primary maths and reading initiative and moving towards a nationwide program that is Tusome. It was impressive to see the growth from a very small number of schools covered to the current thousands of schools that have benefited from this program. Then we also saw the tremendous growth in terms of learning outcomes to a doubling level at the end line assessment that happened. Then we moved on to Evelyn, who helped us to really see the depth of the coaching model and showed how Tusome has used existing resources and existing models of schools to develop and work with government to a level where we are seeing government taking up and running with the whole work, as it were. It was also interesting to note that the CSOs, the coaches from the government side, were actually initially people who came from the teaching fraternity. So in essence, they were seen as peers by the teachers they were supporting. However, with the redefined roles, it raises them a slightly bit higher than the teachers that they are coaching, which definitely has both advantages and could also bring some disadvantages. What was also impressive in the presentation by Evelyn was that the CSOs have a daily focus on the instructional approaches, and also they bring in an aspect of assessment. With the technology coming in, that has really validated the work, but also raised the accountability role, as we saw in the dashboard. From Esther Kinyanjui's perspective, she brought out a very critical issue of how does this whole coaching structure get managed at the national level, but as well as the county level, which is a very important aspect in the Kenyan public administration at the moment. She showed also the value addition that coaching has brought into the education system, notably the aspect of piloting and the information technology use that has raised not only teaching and learning, but also the learning outcomes. So my final thoughts as I reflect on this whole discussion around coaching. I observe that teacher coaching needs to be seen as a synthesis between mentoring, education leadership, capacity building, and a process of ongoing professional development for teachers. In that sense, therefore, it needs to be seen as part and parcel of the school, the zone, the district, and the county level community of practice of educators. I want to suggest that we do need, therefore, to think about coaching in a way of developing teachers as people who are reflective practitioners, because these are the people we support. But we do not just support them. We know that they have experience, they have knowledge, and so we need to help them to reflect more. Can teachers be scaffolded to reflect on their teaching in order to capture the areas of strength and improvement even before teachers are given constructive feedback by their COSOs or by their coaches. When teachers are given opportunities to reflect, they learn, and they learn. As they learn, they grow. As they grow, the potential to influence teaching and learning and the learning outcomes which we direly need also improves. But I suggest to you also that the ability to change teachers' behavior depends on our ability to help them to reflect, to analyze their teaching, and consider other alternative approaches to teaching and learning. Sometimes coaches work so hard to implement at the expense of their learning process. And I think that's where the challenge comes. But secondly, I want to applaud that the model that is being adopted by government came as a result of USAID and RTI making very deliberate choices in terms of policy, thinking around a more incremental approach than a big bang approach. And I think that's something we need to learn as a whole team together. Finally, I would also suggest that we need to see how a framework of a whole-wide, school-wide approach can also be picked up by governments, not just in Kenya, but across East Africa and Africa, so that we can be able to learn from such an approach that is making impact across the education system. The leveraging on technology, therefore, is one big thing that we cannot wish away, because the world is becoming a global village. I'm impressed that this is creating accountability, but in addition to accountability, it's also creating validity of what is happening in the field and coming into feeding to the system, so that we can be able to continually improve and make better our education systems. Lastly, who coaches our coaches? I think that's something that we need to continually think about. Who coaches our CSOs? Do they need people that they can go back to and reflect and debrief? Do they need people that are slightly high in terms of ability and knowledge that they can bounce ideas with and learn from? I want to finalize by saying that we have a real big opportunity to impact education through coaching. If we can bring in school-wide approach, we can bring in more support to the people who support our teachers. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Kazungu, for amazing discussion. And now we are going for a session of questions and answers. We'll be taking questions from our attendees, and the questions will be answered by either of the three presenters. And here I am from Zipporah Muhoro. What is the role of the country technical teams? So this question can be answered by either of the three presenters, Esther or Evelyn.
Okay, I'm going to repeat the question again. Can you hear me? I'm going to actually ask three questions. Can you explain a little bit more about the Tangerine tool for the observation and feedback? Another question is, during the 3 years of implementation, what model would you do differently? And another question is, what is the role of the technical teams, of the county technical teams? If you can answer those three questions.
Okay, so we have the three questions, and I will repeat them again. Question number one is on explain a little bit more about the Tangerine tool and classroom observation. And we also have a question on what is the role of the county technical teams, and then another question on what would you do differently given a chance to implement Tusome, something like that. So those are the questions we have that we are addressing now.
Yeah, let me repeat the last question again. Salome, I'm sorry. Let me repeat the last question again. During the 3 years of implementation, what model would you do differently?
Okay. So I would start with that question on, during 3 years of implementation, what model would you do differently? Tusome has done 2 years. We are on our 3rd year, so we've not done 3 years. But within the 2 complete years that we have done, in reference to coaching, we would, from my perspective as the chief of party, we would like to see more. If we were to do anything differently, would be to see more of the coaching at the level of head teacher within the school system. Because looking at about 23,000 schools that we implement Tusome in Kenya, and looking at the number of CSOs that do the coaching to every teacher, and the teachers are over 70,000, and the instruction and the coaches who are the CSOs and the instructional coaches in the low-cost private schools are only about 1,000 plus. To make coaching more effective, the role of the head teacher at school level would be one of the things that I would look at enhancing. Currently, we do that, but we've not done it to the level that it should happen. We do that by having the head teachers trained every time we are training the curriculum support officers and the teachers. We have a session for the head teachers as instructional leaders. And we go through with them reflection on what roles they should play. Some of them are picking this up, but many of them have not picked this up. They've been trained on the reading approach that is being implemented. To those that are very quick in picking this up, we have examples of some few of them stepping into classroom to implement the teaching, actually to do the teaching when one of their teachers are absent, maybe due to sickness or due to other engagement. So you find a head teacher getting into class. But the role that we train them to do is the role of sitting in class to provide this coaching at the first level to the teacher that is teaching in class. So this is one of the things that I would do differently, in that empowering the head teachers more, ensuring that the head teachers are the immediate coaches to the teachers, and also enhancing peer coaching. Because looking at the level we implement Tusome, the number of schools, the number of teachers, still coaching would work much better if we have coaching strengthened at the lowest level as we come up. So 2 things on coaching. 1, strengthening the role of the head teacher and making the head teacher the immediate coach that the teacher should look into and also strengthening peer coaching among the teachers themselves. We have a little bit of that in one of the slides that Evelyn presented, where we have how teachers are supported, and we have an element of monthly cluster meetings, teachers meeting in cluster, coaching each other, having the CSO guide them as they coach each other once in a term or a semester. But that isn't enough to help the teachers do the work that they really need to do. Getting to the next question, I think I would leave this one for my colleague Esther from the Ministry of Education on the role of the county technical teams that are working on supporting the coaching system at county levels, having various stakeholders represented, and ensuring alignment between the early grade math program and Tusome program. So Esther could tell us a little bit more on their role, how they meet, and how they support the coaching structure at county level.
So thank you, Salome. I would like to share on the role of the County Technical Committee. And one thing that I would want to mention about the County Technical Committee is the issue of ownership of the program, because the program cannot be implemented from the national level, and that is why we go down to the County Technical Committee. And one major role is to ensure smooth implementation of Tusome program. And in this smooth implementation of the program, we have elements like training, whereby the trainers are actually coming from the county level. We have quality assurance officers, we have sub-county directors of education, we have TSC sub-county directors, and not forgetting our county leadership, the county director of education, giving leadership, and the TSC county director. So we have a pool of trainers that we get directly down from the county technical committee, working together with the regional education officers from RTI. At the same time, from the at the county level, this technical committee has the role of ensuring that quality is actually taken care of, whereby we have the program running, we have the CSOs who are also the coaches, we also have the quality assurance officers, the sub-county directors of education. All of them should give a hand in when it comes to the quality of the program, and ensuring that at the same time the CSOs, who is also a member, we also have CSOs being members of the county technical committee, ensuring that the implementation of the program and the coaching is well done. At the same time, they give feedback. The county technical committee gives feedback to the national technical committee, and it is from here that we're able to know what is also happening on the ground. Although we still have the national level, the national technical committee going to visit and seeing what is happening at the county level, but we also get this feedback from the county technical committees. Monitoring of resources as well is a role of the county technical committee, because we have very many, like we have textbooks at the school level, and these books, the pupils' books and the teacher's guide, they are there, but at times we have issues. Maybe some could get lost, others could be misplaced, and all these issues, and sometimes even insecurity. So this monitoring of the resources is also done from the county technical, from the county level, whereby the county technical committee can actually share on the use of the resources and what is happening. Not forgetting that the county leadership also reports to the school leadership reports to the county technical group, whereby we have the county director of education, we have the TSC county director, and this is the leadership at the county level, and school leadership reports to the county level on whatever is happening in the school, in the programs, apart from some even other programs that are also at the school level. And therefore, we get a lot of feedback, and there's a very strong relationship between the National Technical Committee and the County Technical Committee. And would say generally, the main role is to ensure a smooth flow in the implementation of the program, not forgetting some of the issues that we have already raised, like the training, the quality of the program, the monitoring of the resources, giving feedback, and working with school leadership as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Esther. Before Evelyn comes on to respond to the question on the tangerine, just adding a few points on the question Esther has addressed. The Teacher Service Commission County Director is a co-chair at the County Technical Committee level. And it is the TSC County Director that is the immediate supervisor of the CSOs who are the coaches to the teachers. So there's a lot of interest at the county technical committee whenever they meet that the TSC county director and the ministry county director, who is the overall chair, listening and following up on how the coaches are performing. So some of the examples we've had on Tusome is having the technical committee look at the dashboard, because whenever they meet, they also include the RTI technical lead at the region as part of that committee. And they look at the dashboard, they also receive the link and they check every time. So some of the things that Evelyn mentioned when she took us through the dashboard, we saw that in some counties, in some zones, specific zones, there could be 0 observations in a month. So some of the reason could be because that zone has not been assigned a CSO. When they are in this county technical committee meeting, such issues are addressed, and of late we've seen the Teacher Service Commission increase the number of the CSOs that are the coaches. They have increased substantially. They are reducing the number of zones that are unmanned or the number of zones that are combined to be under the care of one CSO. There's also something important that the government of Kenya has done under the early grade math program, that the ministry has hired county project coordinators that are based at the county level. These county project coordinators are the ones that help to coordinate the county technical committee meetings on behalf of the county director of education. And they participate in Tusome and the early grade math program. And so they also, at this meeting, one of the examples we've seen in some of the counties is that when a CSO is not observing lessons, while the CSO has tablet and has no proper reason, then this CSO can be tracked and reprimanded by the TSC county director, who is the employer. They participate, the county technical committee members participate in the regular Tusome training, and they participate very keenly. And at that point, they also interact with the CSOs and they ask questions if a CSO is not performing well. So at this point, I'll allow Evelyn, I'll just give Evelyn time to take us through the other question on tangerine.
Thank you, Salome. So talking about the tangerine, as I said, this is a tool, this is an application that is designed to carry the log of the tool that CSOs, actually not just CSOs, but including quality assurance officers and even the RTI Tusome staff, as they observe lessons. So this application has a tool that helps us to be able to follow the lesson. So it has very many different options, but the critical areas in every lesson are factored in, such that the CSO will be asked, did the teacher teach, say for example, vocabulary in the correct format? And if they say yes, then that will be reflected in the feedback. If the teacher was not teaching that on that particular day, then it will be not applicable, and that as well is reflected. So this is a tool that is customized to help the CSO and any other officer to be able to track the lesson as it progresses, and to be able to see the areas that the teacher has done well, but also to be able to identify areas that the teacher is struggling with. And because we did mention earlier that some of the CSOs do not have experience in coaching, you realize that the Tangerine tool has been customized in such a way that it's possible to actually generate feedback on what went well with the lesson and perhaps areas of improvement if the CSO is not very comfortable or is not yet well acquainted with how the lessons flow. And Salome did mention that we have very many new CSOs now, so those CSOs find it very useful to be able to use the feedback that is generated. Now, I want to go back to the Tusome dashboard, and you can see that while we are focusing here on CSOs because they are the main people that we use on coaching, if you look at that link, we also have the sub-county directors of education who have been given tablets. So they too are able to actually visit schools and be able to support based on their mandate. So they may not be able to do everything that the CSO does as a coach, but they'll be looking at generally, the structure of the pedagogical system within the school, and they are able to actually give feedback on the same. We also have the quality assurance officers on the dashboard, and they too, as they go to observe, they have a tool that is relevant to their mandate in terms of supporting teachers. And we also have the math for the Pride program that Esther has just talked about. So at the end of the day, every one of these people who uses the Tangerine is able to upload the data that they have collected from the school, and we are able to actually see how many visits have been done. So for example, while we are talking about 19,000 plus visits by CSOs, we have about 8 visits by the sub-county directors, and we have the quality assurance officers, we have about 158. So these ones vary because of the other responsibilities, unlike the CSOs who visit schools on a day-to-day basis. But it's also an accountability tool whereby the senior ministry officials are actually able to see the level at which support is being given, not just to the teacher, but also to the CSOs by all the other officers that are there. We have a version that is on Google Play, which is meant for the head teachers to use. As Salome mentioned, we are trying to bring in the head teachers to be able to also support and coach their teachers. And we do have the Tangerine application that is on Google Play, and head teachers are able, actually a number of them have been able to download it onto their smartphones, and they can be able to use. Now we are not focusing so much on that because we have not provided them with the gadgets, with the tablets to be able to use. But if a head teacher feels like their smartphone has enough room, they can actually be able to download the app, and they can be able to use that to observe the lessons. So essentially, so the Tangerine is an application that has tools that help us to be able to track how a lesson goes. And finally, it has a standardized assessment on fluency for both class 1 and class 2, and so as the CSO assesses the learners, we are able to aggregate what would be the average fluency rate per zone, and therefore nationally. And that's why we have the kind of data that we have on the dashboard.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, everybody. Unfortunately, due to time, we're going to have to end the webinar now. We started a little bit late because of technical issues, so thank you to everybody who stayed online past 10 o'clock in the morning to listen to the webinar. And also thank you so much to all 3 speakers as well as our discussant today, Salome, Esther, as well as Evelyn. Thank you so much for taking the time to give the presentation, and very insightful. And we actually got a couple of other questions which we are not able to give you right now, but what I've done is I've recorded them, and we will send them to you by email, and we'll make sure that these questions are answered, either posted on our website or sent to the individuals who asked them. So thank you so much for such an insightful and informative presentation. And thank you also to our discussant. Kazungu. Thank you very much for your insightful responses and also your insight on the presentation today and also on the topic. Unfortunately, Lyimo is having some audio issues, so is not able to conclude the webinar today. So I'll be concluding on his behalf. Thank you very much to everyone who joined, and we will be following up with a short blog as well as the presentation will be posted on our website. So we'll be sending out the information on that shortly later in the week. Thank you so much to everybody, and have a great day. Bye-bye.